Hey there, it's Damien here for 95 Google, and today I'm taking a look at the iPhone XS Max to get a better understanding of why people choose Apple and not Google. So let's investigate further. The iPhone XS Max takes everything that made the iPhone X such a popular device last year and then adds a level of incrementalism not unlike a certain Samsung have been guilty of over the past few device iterations. Now the largest iPhone X device, the Max simply takes a footprint of the X and stretches it outward for a slightly larger usability experience. This is especially noticeable with the icon layout, where the basic app grid feels more spacious than with previous Apple iPhones. Very much a retread of the iPhone X and then supersized to accommodate the massive 6.5-inch display. The XS Max looks no different to the 2017 variant except in size. I'd be lying if I said the iPhone wasn't a good looking smartphone. Every single corner has been considered and crafted to the very high standards, something that does exceed many of the following pack in the Android space. Personally, I do prefer Samsung's design aesthetic, but the XS Max is a very close second. The glass pack is potentially a weak point, and thanks to the guys over at Mobile Fun for providing this review unit and an array of cases that provided the perfect protection. You can find direct links to all of these cases featured in the video within the video description below. My rose gold variant, while stunning, only has a slightly larger than 1080p display, but to be honest, whether or not you can tell it's only a smidgen larger than 1080p is not even that important. My feeling is that Apple should be doing their utmost to pack in at least a 2K panel into devices at this point in 2018, especially when they charge over $1,000. That gripe aside, the screen is still very good. It's really bright, colour accurate and has great viewing angles. Does it compare well to the Note 9? Yes, it actually does. But does it best the Note 9? No, I think it gets very close, but it can't quite beat it, even with that patented true tech packed in. The notch seems to eat into a sizable portion of the display, but not to the detriment of the overall look and feel. What I will say is that Apple owns the notch in a way very few within the Google ecosystem can. Not that I'd opt for a notch just for the fancy camera tricks. I'm personally not a huge fan of face unlocking. It might seem a little strange, but I do like to use a fingerprint scanner, as it means I don't have to do some weird phone shift or hold to simply get into my home screen. For that reason, picking up the iPhone XS Max for the first few days felt a little bit weird, as I naturally reached for a non-existent scanner to get into the device, even after registering my face to unlock. It got to the point that I actually turned off this feature, as I have with all of my other devices that have the feature included. That doesn't mean the system isn't good, because it's exceptional. Unlocking is fast and fluid, as is the face registration process. Google could definitely learn a thing or two from the Apple system, but please keep the fingerprint reader as a backup option. Elsewhere on the design front, the soft round edges of the display are flanked by the only physical buttons found on these newer iPhone devices, with the relatively large sleep and wake button being well positioned and satisfying to activate. The same can be said of the elongated volume button on the left side, but for me the alert slider is still one of the best inclusions on all iOS devices. My big question is, why can't more OEMs adopt this simple but effective approach to silent modes? I think it works flawlessly, and it's especially important when I don't want to frustrate or annoy when in public. Granted, my phone is on silent around about 99% of the time. In terms of operation, iOS 12 is slick and there are nice subtle neat animations or fluid motion tricks, but overall it's simple and easy to use. That's not to say that I want something with a learning curve on my everyday mobile device. No, I simply want something that I have slightly more control over to make the device my own. I do really like the gesture navigation too, as it feels very natural and smooth, but certain things do become awkward, especially on a device this large. For one, accessing the quick menu takes a Herculean effort one-handed, as you have to reach the top right of the notch to pull down all of the quick toggles. Activating the notification shade is similarly awkward, as I hate having to stretch to the outer edges of the display to activate from the middle of your home screen, as it just doesn't work that well. I personally like being able to swipe down from the middle of my display on any of my Android units to access the very same sections. Whilst this is a bit of a minor criticism, it does become a bit more of a gripe when you use these portions of iOS on a daily basis, and this is most definitely a two-handed phone. I find the multitasking system just a little bit more awkward than it should be, but when it does work, it is absolutely awesome. Swiping up and holding doesn't feel all that natural, and I feel it does slow down the process somewhat, but I do actually like the fact that Android has taken this card style and made it easier to access. Although that being said, I do understand that some might prefer the older stack deck format. Despite this gripe, there's absolutely no slowdown from the XS Max as you'd expect. It's an area that all of Android could learn from, as iOS just feels like it responds much quicker to any input. There are some areas where it does sometimes feel a little bit slower, when animations seem to take priority over speed. But overall, iOS 12 is snappy and smooth, with no unwanted jankiness or slowdown to speak of. I've enjoyed taking time away from my everyday device, which is the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, to give the 2018 iPhone a thorough test drive. Its camera takes much more natural images, which does often make me consider carrying an iPhone simply for photo taking duties. Overall, the images have a great colour balance. Apple clearly knows what their average user likes with regard to image production. For me as well, the portrait mode has proved to be the best feature of this particular camera, and I really like being able to adjust the background blur after I've taken an image. It's something that made me want to use the iPhone XS's camera that little bit more, although it's far from perfect. I also really love the Apple method of organising the camera app. Everything feels there at your fingertips with no modes or extra settings hard to find or hard to decipher. You can see why many other brands have adapted or taken design cues from the stock iOS camera app. Overall, I'm kind of torn on the iPhone XS Max, as there's a heck of a lot to like about it. Does it do anything exponentially better than the OnePlus 6 for instance? Well, in my opinion, no. Is the camera the best on the market? I personally don't think so. And does it offer great value? Well, at over $1,000 for the entry-level model, with only 64GB of storage, no headphone dongle, and no fast charger in the box, I'd have to say most definitely not. We'd love to know your thoughts, especially from an Android fan perspective. Are there features of the iPhone that you'd like to see ported over to Google devices? And would you consider switching? Let us know in the comments section down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos with a unique focus on all things Alphabet, or visit 9to5google.com for all of the latest Google news. Anyway, this is Damien signing out for 9to5Google, and I will speak to you later.